On this podcast, we will talk about the tools we have used in order to remind us who and what we are.
We will talk about the spiritual technologies that bring us back to the knowing that we are sovereign.
That bring us back to God. The only actual advice you will get on this podcast is to consult within.
The rest is all the things that happen when you do it.
My name is Jasai.
And my name is Stori.
And this is Sovereign You.
This post says, Black people don't care how they describe people. They be like, you know Mike, tall, dirty Mike. Be musty all the time.
Oh, that's so mean. It's so
no
true.
way.
It's so true. Okay.
That is
Yikes.
funny.
We wild out here.
That's so bad.
All right. Hey, y'all. Welcome back to Sovereign You.
Hello.
The podcast where we are attempting to offer you an opportunity to be the ruler of your own life. Because that's possible.
Yes. Before we get into the podcast, let's get into this dress.
She like right away.
What prompted you to put on a tutu vibe?
Is it a tutu? Is that how it appears? Listen, so today's podcast episode is about loneliness versus solitude. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so loneliness versus solitude, and my anecdotes about the difference between loneliness versus solitude are related to my outfit today. So this is my subject costume. Mm-hmm. So when we get into that, I'll explain to you. It'll be evident why I have this dress on when we get into that part of the podcast. But do we like it?
Yes.
Is it cute? So listen, and I've never worn this dress before.
Okay.
This is a recent purchase. I didn't know where I was going to wear this dress to. I don't have a life that includes events where you would wear a dress like this. But I loved it when I saw it.
Maybe to dinner? No.
What dinner? Where I'm eating? Tell me a place where I could wear this and not be overdressed because I'm going in this dress.
Joey's. You could totally wear this Joey's with some heels and not be looking outrageous.
Okay. I'd have to make up a reason in my mind because I would need a reason to be at Joey's
like
where I go in my pajamas.
That's like a birthday dress.
Oh, you fancy. They don't know that about you. You would wear this on your birthday for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I wouldn't wear that on my birthday, but I would wear something dressed up.
All right. So yes, we will get into this dress. But first, we are diving into the Holy Inquiry. And here on Sovereign You, the Holy Inquiry really is just a question about the interiors of your life as they reflect in your day. Mm-hmm. Because everything we do is holy. Every encounter we have is holy. We are holy. And so, what's my question? Ready?
Okay.
What's sitting here for you right now at the center of your belly? What is showing up for you in your power center and your third chakra as sort of a thing that keeps showing up for you? Is there anything that's living right there now that's informing your life or giving you a nudge?
Tune them out. No, I'm playing. I just had to tune them out. So that and what's sitting at my center? Meeting my quota.
I like it.
Yeah.
Meeting your quota. What is the quota related to?
The amount of beads I make.
Okay.
Yeah. So I know that I can make 60 beads a day, but depending on where my focus and attention is, mm-hmm. That's what inhibits me. That's what turns a 25 bead day into a 60 bead day.
Oh, well, at least you know. You have access to the gears of your experience.
And in one of the episodes we were talking about input, and I think that's really important too, because I feel like some things that I consume are just so draining that I just become so consumed with what I'm watching that I'm like, okay, now I'm not even thinking about making beads. Now I'm investigating
Oh.
what I'm watching.
So it's not that it's necessarily bad or not positive. It's just so engrossing or so engaging that it pulls your attention.
Right.
I see.
What about you?
At the center of me, right, listen, I'm boxing. Now you grew up with me, so you know that I have an aggressive element in me.
Very much so.
Very much so, she says.
Yes.
I don't know if a lot of people know that about me. I know they know I have a big personality. Sometimes people are surprised by how big my personality is. But I do have a very aggressive element to me. And until very, very recently, when I started boxing, no outlet, which is not safe. It's not safe to have the amount of, I'm using the word aggressive. I know people that might have a negative connotation maybe somewhere, but I'm going to use it because that's what it feels like in me, feels aggressive. Not until I started boxing did I realize, oh, not only is this in me, but it needs to come out. And then when it comes out, it feels so good.
Mm-hmm.
When I punch those punching bags, when I do those combinations, and the beautiful thing about it is it's not just the hitting, but you know, boxing is it's musical. It's mathematical. Like there is a cross, you know, a rear cross or a left hook or a, you know, there's all of these maneuvers with names and orientations and uses of the body. And so I have to learn the dance of boxing and hit the bag. Sometimes you have to hit the bag hard. Sometimes they tell you, you know, this is not about power today. It's just about speed. So having to regulate, you know, how I take out that aggression. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. And projected, if you're only looking at it from the outside, it could seem brutal. But I think I mentioned on the last episode that on a previous episode, that there is something very, very valuable about going back to fetch the things that you were interested in as a child. And I was absolutely interested in boxing. I grew up in a time where Mike Tyson was the boxer. I have Sugar Ray Leonard. Sugar Ray Leonard was the first boxer who I was like, oh, wow, there is something very, very interesting here for me. There was a cockiness about it, but then a skill set, and then there was a danger, but then there was clearly this art to it. Like boxing was so interesting to me. But in my life as a young Black girl who had no interest in fighting at all under any circumstance, I didn't know what that meant for me. I didn't know why I was interested in that.
Mm-hmm.
But now that I'm boxing, I know why I was interested in that, because that outlet, even though it's not at a professional level, I have no interest in doing it at a professional level, that is beneficial for me. And that is setting me on fire, because I also feel like I can defend myself for real. So it has very practical uses too. Somebody run up on me, they're going to catch these hands. I'm prepared. And I'm excited to be prepared.
That's a good thing. You know, you do got to be prepared.
You got to be prepared out here. So that's what's happening for me. Today we are talking about an interesting subject, a subject that you put out as an offering, the experience of and the idea of loneliness versus solitude. Tell me why that topic for you
came up.
Because
we were talking about sovereignty and brainstorming different ideas of topics we could associate with the word sovereignty. And for me, sovereignty is a form of independence, and it's a form of interdependence. So I think that in that, you have to spend enough time with yourself to cultivate your own independence. And I feel like unless you give yourself that time to do that, and that space to do that, it's not fully achieved. And so that brings you to a place of what people might meet as, oh, well, now I'm alone. Okay, so now that's progressing to loneliness.
Ah.
Now this is progressing to sadness and depression. So now
Whoa.
we're literally going so far from the original intention that it's like, okay, what was the point? How can independence truly be achieved if when I get alone, I feel lonely? And so from there, I realized that I'm one to spend a lot of time by myself. And I feel like as I got older, especially in school, there would be times where you would just see me in like the courtyard meditating or just sitting by myself and watching the clouds pass or just looking at the sky. And some people thought I was mysterious.
I love that they thought that, because when I was a kid, they probably was like, this is the weird one. I love mysterious
people, but that's the thing. I've never been, although I spent a lot of time with myself, I've never been a quote unquote outcast in that I couldn't fit in with most people.
That's so dynamic.
So I really could fit in with most people, but I chose to be alone. And so I think that's the true distinction between loneliness and solitude, is a choice to be with yourself.
Yes.
And in the choosing, you're like, no, I'm not lonely because I enjoy this. I'm happy to be here.
Now, so that's because I'm talking to people around me about communication and clear communication, so that other people, not to say that people's communication isn't clear to them, but so that other people understand. So when you say I enjoy this, what is it in solitude, the experience of being by yourself? What is it, the this that you enjoy?
Nobody understands me like me. Nobody understands me like me. And like I've been saying, I'm really interested and have been interested in cultivating myself. And so I need time to do that. And so I take time in solitude to do that because I can talk to myself. I can talk to myself. I don't know about anybody else if they feel comfortable talking to themselves,
and it's
or
a
if
thing
they
you have to
feel
get
like
comfortable
it's
with,
crazy or whatever the case may be. But I'm just like, I need to sort this out. So like when I'm doing tasks, like I'll walk into a room and I'll say out loud, okay, why am I in here?
And then, love that.
And then I figure it out from that communication, because I'm allowed to communicate with myself.
Yes. Please say that. Oh God, please say that again.
I'm allowed to communicate with myself.
You are allowed.
And I'm allowed to know what's going on with me. So in most places, because I am conscious of where I am. I'm not in Starbucks like, all right, Story, game plan. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, we're not like, this is not a meeting. You know what I'm saying? But when I am alone, I'm sorting things out. Like whatever I'm thinking, whatever whatever needs to be addressed, I'm addressing that alone.
I could cry. I could cry. I could cry because I know that is the key to the kingdom. That is you. That is your life. I know that the willingness and taking on the responsibility of being with you and sitting with you so that you can know what the hell is going on in your life is the key to all of your dreams.
Yeah. And it's like, no matter what kind of stimulus you have, whether it be positive or negative, I'm the one figuring out how that impacted me. And so if I'm having a challenge, I'm like, okay, what am I going to do about this? How am I going to move forward? Or if I have something great happen to me, I'm like, what am I going to do with this great moment, with this great energy? Like, how am I going to move forward with this new inspiration? So that's really important for me, because I mean, you could talk to your friends all day, like, oh my God, there are some people who may have like braggadocious type personalities, like, oh my God, this happened to me, I'm gonna share this with my friend, or I'm gonna share this with the person, but only in hopes for maybe like a reaction.
Yeah,
from
man,
them,
listen, and then what if you don't get it?
And not even to just share it with them because you're already excited about it. And I feel like, that's where people start to feel left out. Like, am I doing something worth doing if I didn't get the response from them that I'm looking for? But if you're always looking for a response from you, then it's like, okay, what am I going to do with this? And then you get to decide if you're going to do anything with it or not, and whether it's important or a value to you.
To you or not. I love that. I love that so much. Loneliness. I remember going on my first first and only 7-day noble silence retreat. And I was there with 100 or so other people, nobody I could talk to, nobody I could communicate with in any way. So while I was not alone, like there was no way to mistake that. There were definitely people. I'm in this meditation hall. There are 100 people there. I was not alone, but I remember feeling deeply, deeply lonely. And I didn't even remember this until recently, but then I saw the card. I cheated while I was there because you're not supposed to write. You're not supposed to be reflecting because writing is reflection. You're not writing, I'm writing, I'm writing. You're writing about something that already happened. So I wasn't supposed to do that. But the sense of loneliness was so deep in me that I had to get it out. If it had stayed in there, I felt like it would have harmed me. And so I wrote about loneliness, and I saw that card recently, and this was in 2007. And I realized that I was lonely because I wasn't with me.
Right.
I didn't give myself the space to be with me. And that time that I went to that Noble Silence retreat for 7 days was really the first time in my life that I was alone with me in that kind of way.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't even know. I don't have a handle on this. And I watched myself there because I didn't have a handle on me. I didn't have any relationship with myself. I watched me do battle with me.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, this is crazy. Because there was that highest part of me, that wisest, widest part of me that was giving me instruction. And I watched myself deliberately disobey. Like I was in rebellion against my own self.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is wild.
Something that just came to mind was that loneliness is born from where you're not, and solitude is born from where you are.
Woo-wee.
So I feel like that is what makes you feel lonely. Like I feel like the loneliest I've ever felt is when I'm alone and I'm just scrolling through Instagram, watching what other people are doing.
Jesus Christ.
And I'm just like, I'm just sitting here. But then once you experience solitude and you put your phone down, you're like, well, I could be just meditating, or I could be just journaling,
or having my imagination
present, you know?
Yeah.
And I could just be here and see what this moment has to offer. Yeah. Because I think that's the thing too. When we're building our lives are based, and our evolution is based off of a series of experiences. And so if you're not willing to cultivate your experience in every moment that you have, no matter what you're doing, then you're kind of just leaving your experience to whatever comes your way.
And might not be ready for that. At least if you're cultivating your own experience, you've kind of seen it, you've run the play, you're like, okay, these are the things I could do. But if you're just letting stuff come because the gate is wide open.
And because I do spend a lot of time on my phone, and I'm honest with myself about the fact that I do both love being on my phone and both, it's a challenge to be on my phone. I recently unfollowed every person I don't know.
Yeah,
which means I unfollowed all the famous people.
All of them.
I was like, wait, why am I following so many famous people though? Like, I don't know them at all. At all.
And what does it make you do? What does it make you feel?
I don't shop. Mm-hmm. So why am I following all these clothing brands? I do love clothes. And once my resources are set and I don't feel that I'm like putting myself in financial jeopardy buying things, like I will buy more clothes and I will like change my wardrobe. But to just be marveling at outfits that I'm not going to buy, I don't understand why I was doing that. And I feel like what it was mostly making me do was strive for this life that is not mine. And I think that we've even talked about it before in the room where, people will be at a point where they're working to get resources. And because they've just been inputting all these things to do with resources, once you have them, then once you get them, you're kind of just doing what everybody else is doing because it's just the program.
It's part of the
program. And it's
not
necessarily what you would uniquely have for yourself had you not seen it so many times.
And that's what loneliness will do to you. Loneliness will literally make you look out there and say, what's happening? What are people doing?
That you're not.
Let me get involved in that. Having no respecter of whether that's relevant or relatable or resonant to who you actually are, which you might not even know because you don't spend any time in solitude. And so now that I'm engaged, I'm using all my good hard-earned dollars to get involved in what all these people are doing. Now I'm here and I'm hella lonely. Now I got a whole nother issue.
And I also just bring my mind back to, you know, all the independent movies and films I've seen. Because I reference independent films a lot because I feel like they're more honest and true to not just trying to show you some extravagant picture of life. Like, it's just real life experiences that you want to show people a reflection of. And I feel like from seeing so many of those films, there's so many characters that you fall in love with, and if you look at their life, it's so simple. Like, it's almost, you know, just as simple as yours, and you marvel at the way that they experience and at the way that they interact in their life. But then when you're just at home on your couch, or when you're just in your kitchen cooking, that just seems so mundane to you. Like, it seems so boring, or it seems so like, oh, I should just be doing something grander, or I should I should be doing more in my life. But it's like, no, you should just be experiencing and enjoying, because who you are is worth that.
And this is why I have this dress on.
Okay, so what is the dress about?
Listen, I was going to do my wardrobe for today's episode, and Spirit said to me, show up as this version of you. Because there is a version of me that likes to dress like this. And if you've seen any previous episodes of the podcast, I'm sure you're surprised that I have on this party dress. But I love this kind of thing. I don't necessarily, it harkens back for me to a time where I was a frilly dress up Jasai. Because I used to be. When I was a little girl, if I had the kind of parents or grew up in the kind of generation where your mother would let you wear a tutu to the grocery store, because I was not.
Me.
But this sort of generation 2.0 version of Jasai, listen, I'm like, Story, I'm going to the grocery store. I'm coming.
Pink and brown tutu.
Full on tutu.
Every time.
Full on.
Every time.
That is an element of me. And I think that the loneliest I've ever been in my life is when I had to deny particular elements of me for the rules, or for other people's comfort, or for the sake of fitting, whatever the reason was. If there was a thing in me that naturally I would express, but thought maybe, no, I shouldn't do that because somebody's going to think it's weird, I lost something of me.
Or there was like a time in my life where no matter where we went, I was wearing like a blazer and a scarf.
Like you went through your college professor years when you were. I have a picture of you in this library when there were like 8 boxes
like doing
here.
This, right?
Yes, with your hands on your hips, with your pink blazer on, and because listen,
corduroy blazers was my jam.
When you said there's a book up here about myth and mythology, and if you study myth and mythology, or you study ancient Kemetic spirituality, you know there are what people refer to as the gods, and these gods have personalities, and these gods have ways of being, and they're not always nice and sweet. They're not always benevolent. You know, some of these niggas, they is wild. And what's important about that is that these are really just aspects of the one thing. And to understand that I have aspects. No, I don't gotta be somebody who wears a tutu dress everywhere, but I'm someone who would wear a tutu dress.
For sure.
I don't have to be someone that's always loud and talking and being the center of attention, but I am someone who can be loud and talking and being the center of attention. I get to own all of those parts of me. I get to be who I am in full scope, so that I don't miss anything that's really, really valuable that I might need to weave together. Again, we're talking about this second chakra energy of taking this thing and this thing and this thing from the well that is me to create something new, is how you avoid feeling lonely.
And what I was going to say, that allows you to better sit in solitude because you are whole. You're you.
And when you take those elementals that are you and sit in solitude and watch how they play and watch how they interact and watch what new ideas come up when you think about you and your tutu versus you at the beach in your bikini versus you on your prayer cloth versus you as your children's parent or your partner's lover. The mix of all of that, when you put that in a bowl together in the space of solitude, really helps to generate some beautiful and valuable things in the material world and some knowings about yourself that put you on a different playing field.
Yeah. And I think in reflection, it allows you to bloom.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I am me. Like, I am really showing up as me. And so from here, what's new? What's showing up for me that I can now further express? I think that if you get in solitude and you're like, oh, there's this thing I've been wanting to do, but I'm holding back, that gives you a discomfort when it comes to flow, when it comes time to reflect, when it comes time to reevaluate, what parts of you are you willing to keep? What parts of you are you willing to let go? You can't really have that flow of exchange if you're not even willing to start to be who you are.
Yeah. We practice solitude here. What is the benefit of practicing sitting by yourself and not talking to people? Like you still practice. Why do you still practice if you know all of these things already about the benefits of solitude?
Because why do I still continue to practice
formally? Yeah.
Oh, because there's so many ways to be. So I have to know what my way is. Or I will literally just be completely consumed with all the other ways to be. And that's too confusing for me. Because then I'm like, it becomes too wishy-washy. Like, I can be this, or I could be this, or I could be this. Well, let me just be me.
Right.
Like we were talking about, a great visual for that is like if you had a, let's say, a large garden of roses. And let's imagine like a rectangular shape of roses just so we can contain them. And in this rectangle, it's contained by 100 different roses. Whatever your path is going to be your number of roses. So it's numbered 1 through 100. You could end up with 7, 97, 4, 3. You know what I'm saying? Instead of being all the things you are going to be in this space, you can just be where the path leads you. Your
path leads you. There would be some people that say, well, what if I miss something? I know that you and I had a conversation some while ago to the effect that sometimes I'm frustrated that I have an idea and that I'm scared that if I don't actuate it in the moment, it will go away and then I won't have access to it again. I think that that's what some people feel like about path. Like, yeah, this could be my path, but what if there's something better? What if I miss the better thing?
Well, whatever is for you is already yours. And you can't miss anything. So there's actually somebody that I used to watch a lot, and her name is the Hood Healer. And literally, she does readings on Instagram. And sometimes people would come into the live. Because, of course, if somebody's live for an hour, you could come in at 30 minutes. You could come in at the beginning. You could come in, at any point.
Right.
And if you hear her mid-sentence and everybody's in the comments kind of talking about what she's been talking about, and you're like, wait, what did I miss? She'll say, you didn't miss anything because you just got here. So whatever you're going to receive, whatever's in alignment for you is at this point, is at the 44th minute, is at the wherever you've arrived to in this conversation, that is what's for you. Trying to go back to a place that is not even yours.
It's gone.
So it's not even like Sankofa, like fetch back for the things that are yours, the things that you've already experienced that are valuable to you. It's not even that. You weren't here.
So that wasn't for you.
Exactly.
That's understanding that is so key. There definitely is clearly something in the cultural context or in the cultural psychology that says I can catch up to that which I totally missed.
That is gone.
That's not a thing.
That doesn't exist anymore.
And so it's really reassuring to ingrain that into your understanding that I cannot miss anything that's for me. That's not even how this thing works. Like if you just decide that as a baseline.
And I think it interrupts your ability to be present because you literally could be missing a message trying to understand what happened in the last 45 minutes where you weren't even here.
Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful. That is a spectacular bit of wisdom that changes everything.
Yeah.
Like there's some bits of wisdom that change everything because we stop searching. And again, because everything is energy, the energy we use for searching could be colossal.
And I've also had very impactful experiences that suggest that I'm always on divine timing. I'm always where I'm supposed to be. Because specifically, I can remember being at the house, and it was post you and Dad being together. He was picking me up to go somewhere. And I had left something in the house. Like we were in the car ready to go. And then I was like, oh, I left some in the house. So I went to go get it. Literally, in the time that I went to go get it, a car had literally ran into the side of the apartment buildings over by where you turn to go to Target.
Oh.
And we were going in that direction.
Oh, yeah. And when you can see that, when you can see God working
and I'm just
everywhere,
like,
always, it makes you want to be more in touch with you. Like let me make sure that I'm listening to my compass and doing what I'm supposed to be doing. This is why I'm never mad about the idea of being late or forgetting something. If God say, go back and get that thing, I'm like, you know what? If this is going to make me 1 minute late or 15 minutes late, I'm missing something that I ain't got no business making.
Yeah.
And I'm good. I'm good. And again, if I'm late and I have to, and then this is not to make excuses for being late.
No,
because,
but to just be present with flow and what's happening.
Absolutely.
And that's the thing. So that even relates to what I was going to say about planning. So I had wrote notes for this podcast to better my experience here, but then I left them at home. And so I think that to say, oh, no, don't plan because things don't go as planned is not fair.
Right.
Like, no, plan, but if things don't go as planned, go with flow.
Yes.
You know, I think that it's two opposite ends of the spectrum. You don't want to be on either side fully. You don't want to be fully letting go to flow. And then you don't want to be fully tied to the plan.
Yeah. One of my favorite teachers, spiritual teachers, is Pema Chodron. And I'm fascinated because communication is my thing. I'm fascinated with people that communicate what looks like effortlessly. But I realized recently that it's not effortless, it's present. They communicate presently. So I heard Pema say, because she could talk forever. And again, so the thing that's interesting to me about spiritual teachers of a particular tradition at a particular level is that they can teach. They have 50 books. As an author, as somebody who considers themselves from a small child as a storyteller, as an author, hence your name being Story, like this is deeply ingrained in what I am. And I've always been super fascinated with people who can sit down and just storytell. Jay-Z as an artist, as a rapper, as a storyteller,
as somebody who doesn't write.
J. Cole as a storyteller, and I don't know. I think J. Cole writes. I don't know a lot about J. Cole's resume in that way.
I've watched a documentary of him. He does like a very pause.
Okay,
and then thing. You know?
Yeah. So what I think that what happens is if I'm willing to let spirit enter me, which is to say, be present. Because that's where spirit lives. Spirit lives in the here and the now. So if I'm in the here and the now we're synced up. So the beat comes on and the things that need to get said in timing with the beat. And I live this now in the Guardian meditation practice. So now I know experientially exactly how that works. Yeah. I could get up in the morning and be thinking about in the beginning of the Guardian meditation practice, I would be thinking about what I'm going to say to people. And spirit would just chuckle and be like, what you gonna do is breathe.
Right.
What you gonna do is breathe, and I'm gonna speak. How's that? That's our partnership here. You cool? We cool? Cool. And so there is a connection that gets made when we get present that literally allows a kind of flow that's spectacular. Spectacular, spectacular. It's like turning a fountain on. It just keeps coming.
Because you already know your intention for this space.
Right. Absolutely.
You're not just saying anything.
Right. I already know
right.
what this is about.
Exactly.
And then I say, okay, and now I'm
going to
here
let go to this.
To be present to this. Is so beautiful and wise. Like everybody's tired. You know, everybody's like, I wish I had more time. I wish I had more energy. Letting go is the quickest ticket to more time and more energy. It's all this grasping, all this holding. I operate this business in the way that I do because I let spirit lead. I'm not up all night thinking about what to post. I'm not up all night thinking about strategies for marketing. Right. I go to bed. I get good sleep. I dream. I smoke a little weed. I relax. I read a book. Yeah. And then I breathe. And I'm telling you that this prana, this thing that comes through us, in and out of us, that connects us with our atmosphere, because we are not separate from this. I was reading something last night that said, if this didn't do what it does for me, what I do for it don't matter. If this disappears, I can't be here. If there's no green trees, I can't be here. So this is a relationship to everything. And I have the intention for my life, and then I get involved with how God wants that intention to play out. And I practice that in solitude. Because in our real lives, we could think we're listening to spirit and then look up and have been on YouTube for 9 hours looking at, rabbit hole stuff. So in solitude, there's nowhere to go. I just keep coming back to my breath. It's like practicing free throws. Like you got to practice the thing so that when it's time to play the game, it's automatic.
Yeah.
That for me is the beauty of solitude, and what you need in order to not feel lonely is a relationship with you, which is doable, thank goodness, for everyone. This is accessible to every human being. To move from loneliness to being completely, the guy that you had talked about posting his experience from the meditation, the 6 months of meditation, at the very end of his post, I was so heartened to hear him say that he is his best friend. Like one of the things that he discovered in that experience is that he is his best companion, his best friend. It impacts your relationships. Now, what other people do, you don't have no stake in. You're like, oh, no, baby. That's no what parts. That's amen. God bless you. I'm never gonna, if you leave, if all the people leave, I told my sweet wife, I don't need an individual. I do know I need people, but if one individual decides, oh, you know what, the way my life is going right now, I'm gonna have to leave this space, I'm a God bless them. I'm a God bless them, because people have the right to themselves, the responsibility for themselves, and my responsibility and my rights rest right with me. And you learn that when you get in relationship to yourself. And so it literally transforms loneliness just by the very nature of practicing being with you, which is cosmic and beautiful. So thank you for that save.
For sure.
I like it. Look at her with her producer hat on. I like it. All right. So we are moving on to our book segment. And this week it is my turn. And I am going to share an interesting book that I encountered some years ago. I feel like some man in my life recommended this book. I don't know if it was it was either my little brother or one of my spirit brothers, Erwin, because he and I are into the same things spiritually. Right. But it's called The Way of the Superior Man. And The Way of the Superior Man is about men. It is about men and masculine energy, but because all beings in their healthiest sort of offerings to the world are balanced beings, looking at the perspective of what it takes to be a superior masculine energy, because I have a bit of that even in my frilly dress. I am
For sure.
deeply aware of my masculine energy, how to be wise in cultivating that and in offering that. So beautiful, the reflections in here and the offerings in this book about how to hold and disseminate your energy into the world so that it's of benefit to people was mind blowing. And because we live in a culture that, you know, masculinity and masculine energy is so one sided, like it's so heavy and unbalanced, that the reflections here felt very new and very right and very welcome to my spirit. And because I am a woman with masculine energy, I understood this balance and the value of this balance perfectly. I haven't read it in a while, but I intend to again, just because, you know, we're sort of launching ourselves out into the world and what it takes to um, be out in the world and in a public way means that you really do have to get your energy balanced and organize your energy so that you can be safe.
Yeah, I was going to say masculine energy definitely poses as a kind of protective energy too, as well.
Absolutely.
And being able to like enact that in yourself and enable that in yourself. Because I feel like some women feel like you need a man to be protected.
Oh, yeah, no.
When you can really just enable protection inside of yourself.
And it's a challenging thing it's a challenging idea to hold, especially when there is no man around. So now you feel like I'm missing something. And I can't be out here with the understanding that I'm missing things that I need.
Right.
And so I know that, you know, the God that made this plant and bees and weather systems has for me all the things that I need right where I am. Nice. And so if cultivating my own masculine energy, which again is my right and responsibility and makes my life beautiful. Some man offers, I remember, Lord have mercy, when I had broken up with one of my former partners, and it was the first time I had some sort of major household emergency, and there was no man here. Mm-hmm. And it was me and Story. You and I were here.
And I didn't have nothing for you, I bet.
And I needed to replace...
Zero things.
Replace the kitchen faucet. The fury that I felt in my belly
about... I feel like I broke it. Did I break it?
Yes.
I was responsible.
But didn't have nothing else. Just, I did that and God bless you. God bless you.
Literally, God bless you. And I hope you figure that out because I need to turn this on tomorrow.
And so I spent about 5 minutes enraged. Right. Enraged that there was no man. See, this is what happens. And it sort of reinforces these negative stories in our heads about why we need things we really don't need. Like, I need a man. And with all of the challenge and headache
which
and
is super unfair to men because once they show up, they're like, wow, I'm here to fix the faucet.
Yes.
That's my job. That's what I'm here for.
While I love her deeply,
she's is like unbothered by me. Right. But as soon as the faucet needs to be fixed,
it's on. And
I'm on.
And I could see that. Like in my fury, I was like, oh, Jasai. Right. But a man's a person.
A whole one.
Yeah. And so you're going to need to get it together immediately because one, there is no man here.
Right.
There's no one to call, which is kind of weird because I know a lot of amazing guys, but in my mind, at my disposal, there was no one to call.
Right. And I think you're friends. You're not really trying to just like exhaust that relationship.
Come fix my sink.
Yeah.
And the beauty of that was that I learned that I can replace a faucet. Mm-hmm. You can if you just relax.
Right.
If there are people who, because I do generally run around life with that as a knowing in my head. If there's a human alive that has ever done this, I could do it.
You're capable.
I'm certainly capable of it. And so tapping into my masculine energy, which I obviously have and have access to, and saying, okay, whatever it takes that you felt like some person with a penis had to do, you can just go to this Home Depot here at the corner, get a faucet you like, watch 1 or 50 YouTube videos, if
Man.
that's what it takes,
Right.
and put this faucet in here. And after that, it was just an adventure. And it was haphazard and kind of wonky and whatever. But now I know, like now that's a part of me.
Right.
Now I don't have any
fear,
anxiety about if something in my house, like a faucet breaks. I'm like, I'm gonna run to Home Depot and get this faucet. Which also means if I want a new faucet,
right,
I can be like, I'm gonna go over here and buy me this cute faucet and put it in my own sink.
Yeah.
So even when we're frustrated, if we're gonna bring this back, frustrated by our feelings of loneliness, like just taking a deep breath and being with the actual reality and not the story of loneliness, but the reality of whatever you're feeling in the moment. Because if we can enter our bodies and say, really what I'm feeling is a gang of butterflies in my belly, or tightness in my shoulders, or a headache, or, well, you can call that the impact of loneliness, or you can just relax those parts and then be like, oh, I just had a lot of tension. Now what's really going on? So this exploration of masculinity and masculine energy in my hands was really revelatory. Like I just received so many revelations from it. And I'm grateful to whomever. I'm going to thank both of them. You know what? It was Erwin. So Erwin recommended it to me, and then I recommended it to my little brother because I love my little brother and I want him to reach his full potential. Hi, Joshua. So yes, The Way of the Superior Man by David Dita. We will put this information in the show notes so that you can grab this if that tickles your fancy. And now we are headed to the Wisdom Owl. And it is your turn to read the question. Read the question.
All right. Okay. What has being yourself meant for your relationships? Are we talking all relationships?
Anytime you she'd be like, let me figure out if I'm going to have to say something personal, or general personal.
It is information for how I would like to be treated.
Okay.
Because if I wasn't myself, then however I would be treated is also not geared towards myself. So that would be really challenging, because how do you operate in relationships where you're not being treated based off of the way you would like to be treated? If you're not acting as yourself, that's not happening.
How will they know?
Exactly.
How will they know?
So I feel like that's exactly how it benefits me, or what it's meant for my relationships, is that it better helps the person that I'm in relationship with treat me the way I'd like to be treated.
Yes, I love that. My answer is very, very similar. In a very real time example, I often grapple with, because when you love people, sometimes there's this really weird conflict, like, don't insert too much of yourself here because you need to make room for them.
Okay.
Like once you're in it with somebody. But Spirit is reminding me, no. Don't ever not tell the truth about you.
Right.
And what you need, even if you think it might make it tight for them, because you don't know everything.
Yeah.
You only think that.
Yeah. And I think there's a difference between this is about me and this is me.
Well, for sure. Yeah, like these are things that I can't live without. So I can't be not saying them because I think this person is going to react a particular way. I remember when I was doing the 2 hours in the room and you knocked on the door the first time. And I went through this whole thing in my head about not telling you I don't want you to knock on the door. And it was a whole quarrel inside of me.
Did you feel that would be selfish?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Because I've been your mom your whole life. And there's a story in my head about when a child knocks on a door, no matter what you're doing, they are being respectful. They are knocking on the door. But if they're knocking on the door, they need something. And Spirit said to me, but who the person on the other side of that door knocking is not a child. That person on the other side of the door is a grown woman who can understand that between this time and this time, no matter what you need, baby girl who lives on your own, I can't be disturbed.
And that's the thing, too. I think logic applies, too. Like, how much could I really need from you in a 2-hour span?
But if you have a mommy brain that isn't all the way dialed down to appropriate 0 or low, then your mommy brain kicks in and says, if she's knocking, she needs something. And you do have to reteach yourself, because if you're a good, active, present parent for, what was that? I was doing that for 25 years between you and your brother. That thing is on volume 10.
Yeah, I think the only thing that would make it selfish is that if there was danger and I needed your help in some way, shape, or form. But no, I think that like anything beyond safety measures.
Yeah.
No.
So that was that, me being me and me needing what I need for me impacts my relationship. Right now it's just growing them. The challenge there is really me asserting, no, this is what I need.
Yeah.
I have to have this for this dispensation in my life because I'm not in yesterday.
Yeah.
What was yesterday, what was true yesterday isn't true today. And so reestablishing, which I think is a really unique thing for people who are maybe in their 30s or 20s to understand that you're going to come to a point in your life where the things that were true for you today are no longer true. And then you're going to have to relearn yourself and then reestablish some new boundaries with all these people who you have loved forever, who've known you, who've understood you to be a particular kind of way. You're going to have to shift you, which is going to shift them, and that's still going to be okay.
For sure.
All right. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for tapping in to this episode of Sovereign You on loneliness versus solitude. If you are interested in seeing the video version of this podcast, you can head over to our Patreon page, which is Guardian Meditation is our Patreon page. It's all of the offerings for the Alayo amplified sort of experience. And if you are on social media, you can follow us on Instagram at Sovereign You Pod. And if you have a question that you would like to submit for our wisdom segment, we will do our best to get to it and give you whatever little bit of wisdom we might have on the subject. Until next time, thank you so much.
My joy is now. Altogether lovely, pleasure and abundance. All things as it should be, pleasure and abundance.